you all are happy and fine at your place. I am Archana Bhatia, your biology teacher. Today I am here to talk about the topic respiration. So, we will discuss this topic in detail today. As you all know, all the living organisms, they take food. This food is digested, absorbed, assimilated. This food is used for various purposes by the living organisms. This food is used to provide the energy. It acts as a fuel for the activities of the body. So, it is the source of energy. At the same time, it provides a material for the growth of the body, for the development of the body, for the repair of the damaged tissues, for the repair of the dead cells and the injured tissues. So, it is helping in the growth, repair. These are the two main important functions of the food that we take. But the question is, how is this energy obtained from the food? What is the process involved to release the energy from the food? That is what we are going to discuss today. The topic respiration. It provides the energy for the food.
Dear students, the process of respiration involves breakdown of the food. Glucose. They take the oxygen from the air and this oxygen combines with the glucose molecules in the body and burns them slowly to release energy. This energy is stored in the form of ATP molecules in the cell. What are ATP molecules? Adenosine triphosphate molecules. The body can use the stored energy when required by it. When this oxygen burns the food in the body and releases the energy, carbon dioxide and water are also produced. It means respiration involves intake of oxygen in the cells, using it for releasing energy by burning food, and then eliminating the waste produced by the body. This process of respiration releases energy inside the cells of the body, so it is also called as cellular respiration. Here two byproducts are formed, carbon dioxide and water. Out of these, only carbon dioxide is considered as the real waste product because if it accumulates in the body, it is going to harm the body. Water is also produced during respiration, but it is not at all harmful to the body. It is rather beneficial for the body. Thus, we can say that respiration is essential for life because it provides the energy. Why? To carry out all the activities of the body, to carry out all the important life processes which are necessary for the organisms to be alive. Then there are two terms, breathing and respiration. What is breathing? What is respiration? Are they similar? Are they different? Are they related to each other? Actually, breathing means inhaling of oxygen and exhaling of carbon dioxide, taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide. Respiration involves breathing as well as it involves oxidation of food, it involves release of carbon dioxide and the release of energy in the form of ATP molecules. Thus, breathing is a purely physical process. It takes place with the help of lungs. But respiration is a biochemical process. It takes place in the cells. That is why it is called cellular respiration. But the question is, how is this energy stored? Where? The body is not using immediately all the energy produced. Storing it in the form of ATP molecules in the body. ATP molecules means adenosine triphosphate molecules. So this is how the energy is stored. One ATP molecule produces, do you know how much energy? 30.5 kilojoules of energy. Actually, there is ADP cycle in the cell. What is that? There are adenosine diphosphate molecules and inorganic phosphate molecules there in the cell. So ADP and inorganic phosphates, they combine together. You know, when two substances combine together, energy is required. From where does the cell gets this energy? By the process of respiration, released by the food, by its breakdown. So these ADP and inorganic phosphates combine to form ATP using this energy. And this ATP stores the energy. When required, they break down. They break down to release the energy for the activities of the body. At the same time, they release back ADP and inorganic phosphate. These ADP molecules, they are low in energy. These ATP molecules, they are high in energy. That is why ATP is also called the energy currency of the cell. It is just like a battery which can provide electrical energy for different purposes like lighting, heating, running a computer. In the same way, the energy stored in ATP is used by the cells for various activities like contraction of the muscles to bring about the movement in the body. Conduction of nerve impulses means transmission of messages from one part of the body to the other through the nerves. Formation of proteins, clearing of waste, and many more. Therefore, it is called the energy currency of the cell. Now we come to the next topic, types of respiration. We have discussed about in length that oxygen is required for the respiration. Oxygen helps to break down the food, like in human beings, like in cows, like in plants, like in animals, like in dogs, cats. All the organisms, they use oxygen for the breakdown of the food to release the energy. This is aerobic respiration. Aerobic, the word aerobic itself means presence of air. But you will be surprised to know that there are some organisms which produce energy without the use of oxygen. They release energy and oxygen is not used up. Without, they are anaerobes. The word anaerobic itself means absence of oxygen. Yeast, some bacteria, they are anaerobes. So there are two types of respiration which we are going to study in detail. Aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. What is aerobic respiration? I told you, presence of oxygen is required for the aerobic respiration. And here the glucose is broken down into carbon dioxide, water and ATP molecules which store energy. This glucose takes oxygen, combines with oxygen. And this first part of the aerobic respiration takes place in the cytoplasm. Glucose and oxygen combine to form pyruvate molecules, an intermediate. Later on, it is broken down to carbon dioxide, water and energy and ATP molecules in the mitochondria. It means this is having two steps, two phases. First phase takes place in the cytoplasm. Second phase takes place in the mitochondria. Complete oxidation of food. Here, one molecule of glucose produces 38 ATP molecules. Large amount of energy is produced by the aerobic respiration. It involves the complete breakdown of glucose, as I told you earlier also. So this is how the aerobic respiration. This is what it means. Now we come to the next type of respiration, that is called the anaerobic respiration, taking place without oxygen. It is the food is broken down, the glucose is broken down into ethanol, carbon dioxide and energy. So here partial breakdown of the glucose takes place. And one glucose molecule produces 2 ATP molecules. Very less energy is produced as compared to that produced by the aerobic respiration. It takes place in the yeast and some bacteria. We call it fermentation. So end products are ethanol, carbon dioxide and energy, but energy is less. Only 2 ATP molecules are produced by the anaerobic respiration. Then anaerobic respiration takes place in the human beings also. Surprising. Human beings, we have aerobic respiration, we use oxygen to release the energy. But Anaerobic respiration also takes place sometime when we are doing very vigorous physical exercise, when we are running very fast, because at that time oxygen gets used up faster in the muscle cells than can be supplied by the blood. So here the glucose is broken down into pyruvate and intermediate. Then pyruvate is further broken down into lactic acid and energy. Less energy is produced in this case also. One glucose molecule produces only 2 ATP molecules. So this lactic acid gets accumulated in the muscles. The sudden buildup of lactic acid in the muscles, it causes painful muscular contraction, muscular cramps. Actually, what happens during heavy physical exercise? The body is performing the aerobic respiration. Muscle cells, they perform anaerobic respiration also along with the aerobic respiration. Why both? So that some extra energy which is needed under such conditions of heavy physical exercise can be produced. Here the partial breakdown of the glucose takes place. This is how the anaerobic respiration takes place in the muscles of the body. Then the respiration is taking place in different organisms by different modes. Respiration in amoeba. It is a simple unicellular organism, the amoeba. It has a cell membrane around it and the volume is also very small. So it can easily take oxygen from outside by the process of diffusion. It can easily release carbon dioxide from inside. It can eliminate carbon dioxide from inside by the process of the diffusion. So this is how the respiration in amoeba. Actually the volume of the body is so small, single cell. That is its body. The whole cell is in contact with the air around. So that is why the diffusion, although a slow process, it can simply supply the oxygen and take away the carbon dioxide quickly according to the requirement of the amoeba. Respiration in earthworms. How do they respire? They have moist skin. With the help of the moist skin, they take the oxygen in and release the carbon dioxide out. It goes out through the skin. Respiration in the aquatic animals. How do they respire? They have gills as the respiratory organs. Through the gills, they take the oxygen that is dissolved in water. These gills are present on both the sides of the head. They are covered by the gill cover. So that is the gill cover is called the operculum. So that is why they are covered, so we cannot see the gills from outside. Fish lives in water and the water contains dissolved oxygen. For breathing, the fish uses the oxygen which is dissolved in water. It takes in water through the mouth and sends it over the gills. When this water passes over the gills, then it extracts the dissolved oxygen from this water. This water then goes out through the gill slits. Thus the dissolved oxygen is extracted from water by the fish when it flows over the gills. This extracted oxygen is absorbed by the blood and is carried by all the parts of the fish. There the carbon dioxide is also produced by the process of respiration. So it is brought back by the blood to the gills and it is expelled out into the surrounding water. So it's clear. That is why a fish dies when taken out of water. Although there is a lots of oxygen in the air around it. Because why? A fish does not have lungs to utilize the oxygen. It cannot take the oxygen from the air by breathing and by respiration. Fish has gills. It can extract, it can take only that oxygen which is dissolved in the water. That is why it dies when it is not going to get oxygen when it is taken out of the water. So this is how the respiration takes place in the case of the aquatic animals. But these aquatic animals, if we compare the rate of breathing or the rate of respiration with the animals which are there on the land, so they breathe much faster than the terrestrial animals. Because you must have seen that the fish in the aquarium or in the water body, the gill cover moves up and down very fast because the rate of breathing is faster. Why? Because the oxygen dissolved in the water is very less as compared to that present in the air. That is why they breathe fast. The faster rate of breathing, it provides more oxygen to the aquatic animals. So this is how the rate of breathing in the aquatic animals is different from that in the terrestrial animals. Respiration in insects like grasshopper, cockroach, housefly, mosquitoes. These organisms, they have tiny holes on their body as the respiratory organs. They are called spiracles. These spiracles lead to the air tubes. And from the spiracles, the oxygen enters the body, going through the air tubes, reaches the body. And from these air tubes only, carbon dioxide is eliminated from the body. Whatever the process is, the oxygen is taken up by the blood. Like in terrestrial animals, they have the respiration in which the lungs are the respiratory organ. They carry oxygen. They eliminate the carbon dioxide. Lungs are there in the body. So these are the large organisms. Terrestrial organisms like man, bird, lizard, dog, frog. They are very large as compared to that of the amoeba. The diffusion is a slow process. It is insufficient to meet the oxygen requirements of such large organisms. Moreover, the cells are, so many cells are there and all the cells are not in the direct contact with the environment so that they can take air, they can take oxygen. That is why these organisms cannot depend upon the process of diffusion for the respiration. They contain respiratory pigments. They have blood circulatory system in which blood has respiratory pigments which carry the oxygen from the air and carry it to the body cells. In these organisms, being large, they have to travel a very large distance to reach each and every cell of the body. That is why blood circulatory system is helping, so that all the parts of the body, they get the oxygen quickly and carbon dioxide is removed quickly because volume is large. So that is why the blood circulatory system is present and it is important also. So diffusion is not sufficient. If we see the example, if diffusion were to provide oxygen in our body, then it would take about 3 years for a molecule of oxygen from our lungs to reach our toes by the process of diffusion. But the blood circulatory system in humans carries oxygen to all the parts of the body quickly. Actually, human blood contains a respiratory pigment that is called hemoglobin. This hemoglobin is there which carries the oxygen from the lungs to the body cells very efficiently and it brings the carbon dioxide back and throws it out of the body. So this is how the diffusion helps to meet the oxygen requirement of the unicellular organisms only, but not of the larger organisms, the multicellular organisms. Next we come to the respiration in the human beings. Very complex system of respiration is there in the human beings. So human beings have many organs that take part in the process of respiration. These are called the organs of the respiratory system. So here the main organs of respiratory system are nose, nasal passage, trachea, pharynx, larynx, bronchi, bronchioles, alveoli, lungs and diaphragm. The human respiratory system begins from the nose. So the nose has 2 holes inside, they are called nostrils. And there is a passage in the nose behind the nostrils. That passage which is behind the nostrils, that is called the nasal passage. Air for respiration is taken into the body through these nostrils, which goes to the nasal passage. This nasal passage is separated from the mouth cavity. Nasal passage is on the upper side, mouth cavity is on the lower side. In between is a hard bony palate. So that is why there are 2 compartments. It's helpful How? It helps us to breathe in air. Even when we are eating food, we can perform these two processes simultaneously. Breathing in and eating food due to this hard bony palate in between the mouth cavity and the nasal cavity. On the inner side of the nasal passage, there are hair and mucus. What is mucus? A sticky substance secreted by the mucus glands on the inner lining of the nasal passage. They are very helpful because when air passes through the nose and goes to the nasal passage, dust particles and other impurities, they are absorbed, they are trapped by the nasal hair, by the mucus, even bacteria also, so that the clean air goes into the lungs. The part of the throat which is between the mouth and the windpipe, that is called the pharynx. Where it is? Between the mouth and the windpipe. From the nasal passage, air enters into the pharynx, then it goes to the trachea, the windpipe. Trachea is called the windpipe. So, air coming from the nostrils, it passes through the trachea during the breathing. See, trachea, it is having some rings around it. They are called the rings of cartilage. A very soft connective tissue is the cartilage. It is supported by these rings, so that the trachea does not collapse even when there is no air in it. Even when we are exhaling out, it is empty. So they will not collapse. This trachea is not going to collapse. And at the upper end of the trachea, on the upper side, there is a voice box that is called the larynx. The trachea runs down the neck. Then it divides into smaller tubes, two smaller tubes called bronchi at its lower end. These two bronchi are connected to the two lungs. The lungs, they lie inside the chest cavity. They lie inside the thoracic cavity, what we call chest cavity. So this chest cavity is on the upper side and abdominal cavity is on the lower side. In between is a muscular sheet, muscular partition that is called diaphragm. It separates the chest cavity from the abdominal cavity. And the lungs, they are covered by two thin membranes. These two thin membranes are called pleura. Lungs are protected. They are enclosed in a rib cage. What is this rib cage made up of? It is made up of bones. Those bones are called ribs. Now each bronchus inside the lungs, it divides into smaller and smaller tubes. These smaller and smaller tubes are called bronchioles. These bronchioles at the lower end, they have small tiny air sacs or balloon-like structures. These balloon-like structures are called alveoli. The walls of alveoli are very thin and they have large number of blood capillaries, a large network of small blood capillaries around it. It is in the alveoli where actual exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide taking place. Oxygen is taken in the body and carbon dioxide is eliminated. So the walls of these alveoli are very thin. It is the alveoli, it means where gaseous exchange takes place for the respiration. And due to presence of these alveoli, it provides a large surface area for the exchange of gases. And the availability of large surface area, it maximizes the exchange of gases. If we unfold all the alveoli from the two human lungs, that would give an area of about 80 square kilometers, which is nearly the size of a tennis court. So here the diaphragm is a sheet. It is also present. It helps in the respiration. Now we will discuss about the mechanism of respiration. How the respiration takes place. What happens when we breathe in? How do we breathe in? So it is with the help of the diaphragm. It is with the help of the muscles of the chest cavity, muscles of the thoracic cavity, muscles of the ribs. So this is, we are going to discuss about the breathing in, inhalation. Here in this case, internal intercostal muscles relax. Then what happens? External intercostal muscles, they contract when we breathe in. The diaphragm, it also contracts. Actually, it is dome shaped. When it contracts, it becomes flattened. It moves downwards. The muscles attached to the ribs, they contract. And the chest cavity expands, larger in size, because rib cage moves upwards and outwards. This increases the volume of the chest cavity. When the volume of the chest cavity increases, obviously the pressure inside the alveoli or pressure inside the lungs, it decreases. When pressure is less inside and the pressure is more outside, the air starts rushing. Air rushes from outside to inside and reaches the alveoli. In this way, in this process of breathing in, alveoli, they get filled with air containing oxygen. So this is how the oxygen is reaching the alveoli. And when it is present in the alveoli, the oxygen of air diffuses out from the alveoli walls into the blood. This oxygen is carried by blood and it is taking the blood to all the parts. It is going to all the parts of the body. So then what happens in the parts of the body, in the cells and in the tissues, carbon dioxide is also produced as a waste in the cells of the body. So it is brought back by the blood to the alveoli where it exchanges. Carbon dioxide goes to the alveoli and it is moved out of the body. Then what is the mechanism of respiration during exhaling? When we exhale out, when we breathe out. So when we breathe out, the internal intercostal muscles contract and the external intercostal muscles relax. At the same time, the diaphragm, it relaxes. Now it comes back to its original position, moves upwards. The muscles attached to the ribs, they relax, due to which our chest cavity contracts, chest cavity becomes smaller, volume decreases. Obviously, when the volume decreases, the pressure inside increases. And this pushes the air rich in carbon dioxide from the alveoli of the lungs. It passes through the trachea, through the nostrils, and then out of the body in the air. In this way, process of gaseous exchange takes place in the human respiratory system. During this breathing cycle, inhaling and exhaling, one inhale and one exhale, it forms the breathing cycle. During this breathing cycle, when air is taken in and goes out, lungs always contain some volume of the air. That volume of the air is called residual volume. This volume of the air is sufficient for the exchange of the gases. It provides sufficient time for the oxygen to be absorbed into the blood and for the carbon dioxide to be released from the blood. So today we have discussed about the topic respiration, how respiration takes place, how it produces energy, which is important for the survival of all living organisms. I think now you have understood the respiratory system in human beings and the mechanism of respiration. That is all for today. Thank you for joining me.